Hi everyone, it's Sarah from Sarah Gale Nutrition here, and this week I'm talking about whether we need to detox or not. And this time of year, January, it is a question that I get asked all the time. I think a few years ago things like the detox teas, detox lollipops, detox supplements were very much in vogue, but actually I feel like now people have shifted away from that, and actually maybe they're looking at, do we need a detox? Because our liver, our gut, our kidneys, they do it all the time anyway. And actually my answer to that question is a tricky one. It is yes, but it's also no. So I would say if you're looking for a quick detox to help you lose weight or to get rid of all the December excesses, then I'd say no, because actually your body is detoxifying anyway, and that sort of short, quick win, it's not really going to support the body. However, we do live in a toxic environment. There are many, many chemicals we're exposed to and toxins on a daily basis. Even if you're on some remote farm, far away, eating organic food, filtering your water, you are still going to be exposed to chemicals. And if we actually think in our modern day society, we do in our, urban environment, we are exposed to far more chemicals, whether that is through car exhaust fumes, whether it's through BPA and plastic, because we're using plastic in our kitchens or in our homes. Maybe it's makeup, maybe it's toiletries. We are exposed to so many chemicals. So actually all of those chemicals need to be detoxified, and they all have an effect. So all of those toxins will come into the body and they'll have to be detoxified and eliminated. So that's just putting excess load on the body. So that is why I would say yes, detoxification is a good idea. On the other hand, our liver, our kidneys, our guts, our skin, through sweat, through the breath, and also through our tears, we are detoxing every day. So that detoxification process is going on, and taking a tea or a supplement is not going to change that process that's happening all the time. But because we do live in a very toxic society, I do think for many of us, especially women, as women, we do have the extra load of hormones to deal with, particularly estrogen, so part of what makes us female. We do have that extra load of detoxification that's required. And I will say that actually the body will prioritise detoxing external chemicals first. So actually let's take that BPA from plastic, that actually it will prioritise detoxifying that first over hormones. So what can happen if the liver is quite clogged up, then actually we can get what's known as estrogen dominance. And that can be include symptoms like weight gain, PMS, PCOS as well, heavy painful periods, histamine issues, anxiety, thyroid problems, the whole list of other things. So actually supporting our detoxification processes is not a bad idea as a woman. And I like to liken detoxification to a bathtub. So if you imagine the water flowing in from the tap into a bath, it's like everything we're exposed to, everything that's coming into the body that we need to detoxify, as well as what we need to detoxify from our own body, so our hormones, and also some of the cellular processes have toxins or substances that need to be detoxified. So that is like the water coming into the bathtub. And then we have the drain, and that is like the detoxification system. So your liver, your kidneys, everything I listed before, that is the drain, clearing it from the body. So you want the water flowing in at a steady rate and draining at a steady rate too. So if actually too much water is coming in and the drain is clogged, the bathtub is going to flood and it's going to overflow. And the same is with the body. And if that overflow action happens, that's when we can start getting symptoms, illness, chronic disease, etc. So in summary, I do think it is a good idea to support our detoxification systems, but not in a quick win, quick tea, quick juice cleanse way, as a constant way to support the body to reduce that exposure, so reduce the water flowing, but also really work on clearing the drains. So how do you do that? Well, firstly, reduce the water flowing in, reduce that toxic load. So if we start thinking about where the toxins might come from, our food is a big one. So thinking about our fruit, vegetables, meat, eggs, dairy, those types of foods, we want to be consuming them organic, because actually non-organic produce is going to be exposed to pesticides, herbicides, insecticides, antibiotics and hormones, all which the body then has to detoxify. If the organic isn't available, then you can use a veggie wash on your fruit and veg, or you can also use the Dirty Dozen and Clean 15 list to prioritise what you are going to buy. So the Dirty Dozen are the most chemical-laden fruits and veg, and the Clean 15, the opposite, so the least chemical-laden fruit and veg. So if you can't buy everything organic or it isn't available, either wash your fruit and veg, but better yet, use the Dirty Dozen and Clean 15 list to prioritise what you should buy organic. Make sure you filter your water, because that is going to get rid of any chemicals or heavy metals found in tap water. So you can get a different range of water filters. The standards, or the low end range, is Brita. That doesn't remove too much, but it will remove some of the chloride, which the body would have to detoxify. And then working your way up, there's one that I really love, which is called Berkeley Filters, which is incredible. And you can Google that and have a look to find out more about it, because I'm not going to list everything it gets rid of because it is a lot. Limiting your caffeine, alcohol and sugar intake, because they are all putting unnecessary pressure on the liver and the gut. They have to be detoxified. So actually just removing those from your diet, or lessening them I should say, is going to help the liver and the detoxification system as a whole. And again, avoiding overly processed foods, because these are going to be packed full of additives, colorants, preservatives, which are foreign to the body. It doesn't really know what to do with them. And as a rule, I would say if you can't pronounce it, apart from maybe something like cacao or chia seeds, which might be a little bit alien to you, or if your grandmother wouldn't have used it in cooking, then try and avoid it. So next, you can look at cleaning up your kitchen. So ideally in the kitchen, we are reducing all plastic, so anything that food or drink will come into contact with. So think about chopping boards, think about Tupperware, think about plastic bottles. Those tend to be the main ones. Oh, and also cling film as well. The reason why I'm suggesting to avoid plastic is because it contains something called BPA, and that is a known endocrine disrupting chemical. So what that means is actually the chemical disrupts your hormones, so actually can contribute to hormonal imbalances in the body. So we want to be avoiding as much plastic as possible, and not just BPA free, because so BPA is bisphenol A, bit of a mouthful, bisphenol A, that there's other bisphenols which aren't actually maybe as famous, if you like, that are still in plastic. So ideally we're removing all plastic that food and drink come into contact with. And instead we're opting for things like glass, stainless steel containers. So moving your Tupperware away from plastic to glass is going to be the easiest one. And then changing your plastic chopping boards for wooden or bamboo ones instead. And whilst we're talking about BPA, it is also found on the lining of cans unless they're labelled BPA free. So especially fatty foods, so things like coconut milk, either opt for BPA free or opt to get them in a glass jar or a carton. Things like chopped tomatoes, which quite commonly come in a can, opt for glass jar instead. And then it's thinking about our non-stick cookware. So non-stick cookware is coated with something called Teflon, and it's incredibly toxic to the body. And I would say ideally we're avoiding all non-stick, but especially if it's scratched, which old pans can get, if it's scratched at all, throw it out. Do not use it, because actually the scratches mean that the Teflon is more active. It's easier for the food to absorb. Especially fatty foods, because all of these toxins are fat soluble. So actually if you're cooking, let's say, olive oil and bacon in a non-stick pan, or frying an egg in a little bit of oil that is scratched, that fat is just going to absorb the toxins, the chemicals. So ideally we're getting rid of all non-stick, especially scratched, and opting for things like ceramic, stainless steel or cast iron cookware instead. And the next topic, which you can work on reducing your exposure, is looking at your cleaning products and your personal care products. So this is a huge category. So first, it's looking at actually, if you use a number of products for both cleaning and both your personal care, can you reduce that number? Do you actually really need to use that concealer? Do you actually really need to use that special bathroom cleaner? Would hot soapy water not actually work just the same? And what we're happy with will be different for everybody, but how can you reduce that bucket is the first place to look. The second thing to do is then to start switching to more natural products. So there's loads of natural household cleaning products available now, and personal care products. If you head over to the blog, there is a link to a website which is really great for checking out your personal care products. But also the Think Dirty app can be really great to rate them on how dirty, if you like, they are. And above all, avoid anything with fragrance. So fragrance contains something called phytates, and these are known carcinogens, and they also cause hormone disruption. So that is going to include things like cleaning sprays, perfume, air fresheners, those horrible Glade plugins, things like body lotions, moisturizers, toiletries, reed diffusers, candles, etc. So really opt for products scented naturally with essential oils, because that is a natural form to scent and not the synthetic form found in other non-natural products. So next we move on. So we've looked at reducing the water into the bath, and now how can we really work on declogging that drain? So getting the water flowing freely from the bathtub. So we want to be supporting our liver and our gut. So the liver and the gut work intimately together to detoxify. The first place to start with this, if you aren't going to the toilet, so pooping every day, this is where you need to start, because whatever the liver detox most of it gets put into the gut and then comes out in the stool. So if you aren't having a bowel movement every day, you need to look at that. You need to sort that, because actually your liver could be working great, but if your gut and you're constipated and you're not passing a bowel movement at least once a day, that is the first place to start. Then we can start looking at foods to support the liver. So cruciferous vegetables are great for supporting the detoxification pathways. They're found in things like broccoli, Brussels sprouts, cauliflower, kale, bok choy, cabbage, rocket and watercress are the main contenders. Sulfurous foods are also great for those detoxification pathways in the liver. So think about things like onions, garlic, leeks, and eggs as well. Focusing on fibre can really help get the gut moving and really help you to have a bowel movement every day. So those are going to be found in things like fruits, vegetables, nuts, seeds, whole grains are really great for upping the fibre. And then you can look at liver supportive foods in particular. So things like turmeric and ginger, beetroot is fabulous for the liver, fennel, garlic, coriander, parsley, rosemary, all herbs really. All of those little polyphenols in the herbs are really, really great for supporting the liver. Looking to consume protein with every meal. So protein is broken down into amino acids, and those amino acids are absolutely vital for the detoxification processes that happen in the liver. So actually, what is the problem with most juiced up detoxes or juice cleanses is they're devoid in protein. They're just the veggies and the fruits stripped. So there's no protein. So actually, you could be flooding the body with lots of juice and loads of antioxidants and vitamins and minerals from the juice, but actually you're devoid of protein to get the liver to actually work properly. So make sure you consume protein with every meal. And then also just make sure you're hydrated with filtered water ideally, because then that's another way. The kidneys, we can detoxify that way. So that's another way to flush toxins out the body. And if you do want to juice, then don't just juice. What I would say is you can either look at juicing as an add-on to a meal. So you can juice just the fruit and the vegetables, ideally mainly vegetable based, and it's a lovely way to really up your nutrient status, but then enjoy that with a protein and fat rich, let's say breakfast, if you're having it for breakfast. Or you can take the juice and turn it into a smoothie, so blending it with things like nuts and seeds, protein powder, coconut milk, etc. to make more of a smoothie than a juice. So what else can you do? Well, sweat. Sweating is an incredible way to detoxify the body that doesn't have to go via the kidneys, liver or gut. So get your running shoes on or relax in the sauna. It doesn't matter, you just need to get sweaty. Stimulating the lymph. So we have our lymph system that runs all the way around the body, but it doesn't actually have a pump of its own. So it is normally moved around and pumped via our muscles. So exercise is great for getting the lymph moving. But you can also do it via manual manipulation. So things like massage is great, or dry skin body brushing. If you are going to do dry skin body brushing, make sure you always brush upwards and towards the heart. Epsom salt baths are lovely. So actually if you have your bath super, super hot, you're going to get a little bit of sweat in there as well. The magnesium and sulfur found in the Epsom salts are really great for stimulating circulation around the body, so helping to remove waste, but also supporting the liver as well. The next thing you can do is get a good night's kip. So this might sound a little bit strange, but actually sleep is the body's time for rest and repair. And when we sleep, the brain actually works on clearing out the waste. So there is a barrier between the brain and the rest of the body called the blood-brain barrier. And what actually happens is when we sleep is the brain goes through and clears out all of its toxins and everything it wants to get rid of and the waste, and it moves that across the blood-brain barrier, which then the rest of our body, it can then go to the liver and then get excreted. I find that so cool that process happens while we sleep. So make sure you're getting a good amount of sleep each night so your brain gets cleared out. Breathing is another one. So the breath is another way we can detox. So actually getting some deep, good belly breaths in. So really engaging the diaphragm and not just up into the chest. Deep belly breaths. Breathing. Yoga breathing is great. You can YouTube so many different breathing exercises. Just breathe. Even a good sigh. There's something very cathartic about it. So get breathing. Get breathing as much as you possibly can. Deep, big belly breaths is great. And the last one is have a good old cry. So tears are another way we can detox. And that tears are actually really nice for an emotional detox, which is why it's a normal reaction that actually if we do feel overwhelmed or sad, we cry. Or happy, I guess, overwhelmed with happiness, we cry. And it's a really nice way to release emotion and detoxify the body. So to round up, in my opinion, considering the toxic world we live in, especially as females, detox is no bad thing. It just shouldn't be a short-term thing. It should be something we do all year round, and maybe we do have a little bit more focus at a specific time of years. For example, taking out alcohol for a good month, taking out sugar for a good month, etc. And supporting your detoxification processes all year round is really going to support your health and hormones.